Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always ready to explore.
Today we're heading to a place that truly tests the limits of survival. The Karoo region of South Africa.
Ah, yes. One of the most unique and challenging environments on the planet.
And you know what thrives there?
Let me guess. Something small, hardy, maybe a bit spiky.
You got it. The amazing dwarf Karoo Girdled lizard.
Karusasaurus polyzonus. A mouthful of a name for such a small lizard.
I know, right? But honestly, their size is a big part of why they fascinate me. Like, how does something that tiny even make it in such a harsh place?
Right. It's all about adaptation. I mean, think about the Karoo.
Yeah, paint us a picture. What are we talking about here?
Okay, so picture this. Endless stretches of rocky terrain baking under the scorching African sun.
Sounds intense.
It is. Very little rainfall, temperatures swinging wildly between extremes. It's a place where life has to cling on by its, well, claws, I guess.
And that brings us back to our little friend, the dwarf Karoo Girdled lizard.
Exactly. So you've got this lizard, right? Only about 8 to 12 centimeters long.
Tiny.
Tiny. And it's got this incredible armor of overlapping scales, giving it that girdled look.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures. Those scales look serious. Not your average lizard scales, are they?
Oh, not at all. They're heavily keeled, meaning they have these raised ridges, almost like tiny little spines running along them.
Okay, and what's the purpose of that?
Well, besides protection, think moisture retention. Those keeled scales actually help channel and trap whatever little dew or moisture they can find in that dry climate.
Wow, so they're like little living water tanks. Pretty ingenious.
Totally. And their coloration, too. It's all about blending in. Earthy browns, yellows.
Camouflage. Gotta hide for those hungry predators.
You know it. Birds of prey, snakes.
The Karoo is full of dangers for a little lizard.
Speaking of which, they've got that spiky tail, too.
Ah, yes, the tail. Not just for show, that's for sure. We'll get to that in a bit. But first, oh, you're gonna make me wait for the tail reveal. Okay, fine. But you've piqued my curiosity. So back to survival. How does this tiny creature even find enough to eat in such a barren place?
Well, they're what we call diurnal, meaning they're active during the day when the sun's out and about.
So they're sunbathers.
In a way, yes. They bask to absorb heat and energy, which is crucial for them to move around and hunt.
Makes sense. But what do they even hunt in a place like that? Are we talking like tiny, tiny insects?
Primarily insects, you got it. But they're not picky eaters. If the opportunity arises, they'll munch on some plant matter too.
So they're adaptable, flexible eaters. I like it.
Exactly. They have to be to survive out there. But
Yeah.
don't picture them running around constantly. They're ambush predators.
Oh, so more like lie in wait and strike.
Precisely. Conserves precious energy in that harsh environment. They find a good spot, blend in with their surroundings, and patiently wait for an unsuspecting insect to wander a little too close.
Clever. And what about their social lives? Are they hanging out in groups, helping each other out?
Actually, no, they're mostly solitary creatures.
Really? I would thought sticking together would be beneficial in such a challenging environment.
You'd think so, but in the Karoo, resources are so scarce, food, shelter, even just a bit of shade, that competition often outweighs the benefits of cooperation.
Oh, I see. So they're fiercely territorial, making sure they have enough to survive.
Exactly. But they're not completely antisocial. During breeding season, they might share crevices for shelter and to raise their young. And
Okay.
let's just say if a predator comes along that's a bit too much for one lizard to handle, they've been known to team up for defense.
Interesting. So a bit of cooperation when absolutely necessary. I'm sensing a connection to the spiky tail here.
You're catching on. Remember those spines we talked about? They play a crucial role in the dwarf Karoo Girdled lizard's most impressive defense mechanism.
All right, spill it. What's the secret weapon?
Okay, so imagine a hungry snake spots our little lizard friend, thinks it's an easy meal.
Oh.
The lizard darts into a rocky crevice, wedges itself in tight, and then it inflates.
It what?
It pulls air into its lungs, expanding its body, pushing against those spiny scales.
Wait, like a pufferfish?
Kinda. But with spines, it becomes this, like, impenetrable, prickly balloon, almost impossible to pull out of the crevice.
And the tail?
Oh, the tail. It positions that right at the entrance, like a spiky barricade.
Wow, talk about a fortress.
It's a brilliant defense strategy. Of course, inflating like that takes a toll. It's not without risks.
I was thinking that. Must put a lot of strain on their little bodies.
It does, but for them, it's a calculated risk. The threat of being eaten far outweighs the potential for injury.
Makes sense. Survival at all costs. Right?
Exactly. And that brings us to another incredible adaptation, reproduction.
Oh yeah, the Kuro doesn't exactly seem like a baby-friendly environment.
You're telling me laying eggs in that dry heat?
Yeah.
They'd shrivel up in no time.
So what do?
They've evolved to be oviviparous.
Ovo what now?
It means the eggs actually develop inside the mother. She gives birth to live young.
Wow, so they're like mini mammals. Lizards giving live birth. Amazing.
It's a pretty remarkable adaptation, perfectly suited to their harsh environment.
Makes sense. Keeps those babies safe and hydrated.
Exactly. Of course, live birth takes a lot of energy, especially when resources are scarce. That's why they usually only have 1 or 2 offspring per year.
Wow, every little lizard is precious. It really shows how tough it is to make it in the Karoo.
It does. But their story isn't just about individual survival. It also highlights their crucial role in the ecosystem.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does such a small creature make a big impact?
Well, for one, they're voracious insect eaters, which helps keep those populations in check.
So they're like tiny pest control.
Exactly. And of course, they're also part of the food chain, providing sustenance for larger animals like snakes and birds of prey. They're a vital link connecting different parts of the ecosystem.
Amazing. They're like tiny gears in a big, complex machine, keeping everything running smoothly.
Exactly. But sadly, this amazing ecosystem is facing some serious threats.
Oh no, what kind of threats?
Well, human activities are a major factor. Agriculture, mining, they encroach on the Karoo, fragmenting habitats, disrupting the delicate balance.
And climate change probably doesn't help either.
Unfortunately, you're right, increased temperatures, unpredictable rainfall. It all adds up to an even harsher environment for creatures already living on the edge.
It's a sobering thought. We have this incredible creature, perfectly adapted to its environment, yet facing an uncertain future.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of it all, how human actions can have far-reaching consequences, even on something as seemingly small and resilient as the Dwarf Karoo Girdled lizard.
It makes you think, doesn't it? If this tiny lizard can overcome such incredible odds to survive, what does that say about the potential for life to adapt and persist, even in the face of a changing world?
It certainly gives me hope.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of the Dwarf Karoo Girdled lizard. As always, thanks for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep those questions coming.